Hello, people. Technically, this is episode 10 of More About, but since there were 3 episodes before I decided on the name, overall I'm at episode 10 now, so I guess I'm doing pretty well. In this episode, I will be discussing the Epstein files again because it's still overall the most discussed topic in online media as I saw this week. But I will also be talking in the second half of the show about porn. So if you're too gentle to listen to that, I'll give a heads up before I start talking about it, and you can go watch something else. And if not, I promise it will be interesting. So let's start with the Epstein files. I've heard a lot of people on podcasts talking about what is the cover up, who's covering up for who. Trump is in the files, he's not on the files, he's in the files, but in a way that's not really incriminating. He was his friend after all, but not a close friend. I mean, I don't think Trump has close friends. I mean, I don't know how Loyal to Reality, the movie about him, which was uploaded last year just before the election, is. By the way, great acting by Sebastian Stan. But if it adheres in any way to his real character, leave specifics out of it, it seems like Trump is the kind of person who has trouble connecting with people, and is just like, he can be friends with someone, but it's never like really close. It's like there's always this distance between him and people as it looks there. And from seeing him in real life, the people he calls enemies one day and friends in the next, there has to be something very, very uniquely. He has a switch in his mind for what is called who's a friend that's different from most people's. But anyway, my point is, sorry, I rumbled about that a little bit. My point is, I've heard Shapiro is the main propagator of this thing. If you claim the current administration is covering up the Epstein files because they didn't release them, then you're claiming, even if you don't say it out loud, that Trump is a child molester, or at least a child molesting, let's call it conspirator. But this is a demagogue argument, and I'll explain why. Trump may be hiding up the Epstein files for a reason that is not his own involvement in the Epstein cases or life or sex trafficking or whatever. There are people maybe in the previous administrations who covered up the molestation. And if the theory propagated online about some intelligence organizations being involved is true, then Trump might be covering up to defend the country from intelligence, not the country, countries, because I'll get to that in a bit, is trying to protect the interests of the US by not revealing the whole truth, because he thinks the truth is a bit too inconvenient to reveal just yet. And that makes a lot more sense than saying, "Oh no, Trump is involved in the child molestation. He knew about it." No, he might have not known about it, but now thinks victims from, what was it, about 20, 15 years ago, maybe even more, are maybe worth the extra little time of cover-up to defend long-time interests of the US mainly the US, maybe Israel, and now we're getting to the whodunit part, which I love because I'm a big fan of Agatha Christie and detective novels and TV, like, yeah. So whodunit? It may be the CIA, the NSA, any pick any three random letters in Latin, in the Latin alphabet, and you have a security service, an intelligence service in the US with that name, which is ridiculous. But people online have been talking about Mossad being involved. Again, Shapiro is the main propagator that this is anti-Semitic. For a change, me as a Jew who lives in Israel thinks that's not anti-Semitic because there are some very incriminating pieces of evidence. It's not evidence, it's just circumstantial clues that point to some Israeli involvement. It may not even be the Mossad. It may be just previous governments who wanted to use Epstein to some degree. And let's get into it. One of the names in the Epstein files, and we know that for sure because it's been talked about constantly, at least in Israel, is Ehud Barak, who was our prime minister from 1999 to 2001. And then Ministry of Defense in Netanyahu's government from 2007 to March 2013. I mean, 2007 wasn't Netanyahu; it was the Olmert-Livni government, and then he continued in Netanyahu's government until 2013. And he was photographed outside of Jeffrey Epstein's house in 2019, I believe. I forgot to write this part down, unfortunately. But I think it was 2016. In 2016, he was... I put the wrong year there. Yeah, 2016, he was photographed outside Jeffrey Epstein's home. The photos were published in a Daily Mail, I think, in the UK article about Epstein. And they didn't initially recognize the person in the photographs because he was wearing like this thick, wintry clothing item on his neck, a neck warmer, I think it's called, right? And Israelis recognized him, but for some reason, no news organization in Israel, no media outlet ever reported it until 2019. 19, yes. 3 years, we knew there was photos of Ehud Barak entering the house of this alleged child molester, and we were not reported. We were not told about it by our own media. We were just reading about it overseas. And then Netanyahu's people resurfaced the images in 2019, and then every year since then it resurfaces again. But the point is, Ehud Barak in 2016 was 3 years after his tenure as our even less than 3 years. I mean, he finished his tenure as a Ministry of Defense in March 2013, and the photos in Epstein's house were in January 2016, so less than 3 years after that. Since in Israel, the heads of the state know some very, very important secrets that keep us alive in the Middle East, they are entitled to security even after they finish their tenure. Prime ministers get it for 10 years. Ministers of defense get it for 5 years. And Barak, less than 3 years after his tenure, was secured. So security guards must have followed him into Epstein's house. So he wouldn't go there to child molest with his security detail, right? He would have to be crazy to do that. What makes more sense is, first of all, I have to mention Barak and Epstein were both part of something called the Wexner Foundation. It's a foundation that tries to find promising Jewish future leaders, connect between them, and it prepares them to change the face of the country of Israel by either leading Israel with extremely progressive agenda or donating to extremely progressive agendas. And many Wexner Foundation alumni and the foundation itself are involved in funding anti-Netanyahu, anti-right protests in Israel. And they were both part of it. I guess Barak as a politician, Epstein as a big Jewish figure in Hollywood, who had the money and the connections. And the Israel using connections in Hollywood and the US is nothing new. They used Milchen, Arnon Milchen, who's a big Hollywood name. He used to work for Mossad, and that's not a conspiracy theory. He admitted it. The country admitted it. He's considered a hero, until he accidentally became friends with Netanyahu, and then it all went down the drain. But leaving politics aside, before becoming friends with Netanyahu, he was considered a hero for using his Hollywood connections to help the country to get all sorts of things we needed from the US. And he knew how to, as a Hollywood person, he knew how to approach the right people to smuggle weapons and threaten them if they don't fund Israel. They will be shamed on TV, and I mean it's politics stuff, but it helps our country, my country, and Epstein might have been part of it from one side of the aisle or another. But even though they were both part of it, an ex-Israeli prime minister and minister of defense don't just come visit friends with their security details, especially not if that friend is a suspected child molester. If an ex-Israeli prime minister comes to your house with his security detail in the time frame he's still entitled to one, that's a power play on your side. I mean, have you ever seen an ex-prime minister or an ex-president knocking on someone's door? They don't do that. People come to them to beg. So Barak coming to Epstein's house must have been to beg Epstein to do something that Barak or Mossad or Shabak, who was responsible for Barak's detail, thought very important enough to have an ex-prime minister knocking on your door in the middle of the day in New York City, because they don't generally go to visit friends. It just doesn't happen. So I think Israel was involved in some way. It's not anti-Semitic to say that. In what way was it Mossad? Was it Shabak? Was it just Barak, who hates Netanyahu, trying to get Epstein to support anti-Netanyahu protests? I don't know. But there was something with Israel there. And Trump, who likes Israel and thinks the continuation of the state of Israel is important to the interests of the US, he may be covering up for that, because he doesn't want to do things that will get us into an even worse war than the not babushka, what's it's called, matryoshka of wars. Matryoshka are these Russian dolls that a door within a door within a door within a door. That's what we have in Israel, a war within a war within a war within a war. And Trump probably, he is doing his best to prevent us from getting into more. And he even asks us not to retaliate against other countries and terror forces that are striking us now, because he wants the violence in the Middle East to end. But it doesn't work that way. Everyone here has been in war against each other for hundreds of years. Trump is not going to stop that, even though he promised. He's not. No one person has the power to do that, unless he uses nuclear bombs, which delete the whole Middle East from the map. But that will be a bit counter you know what I mean. I forgot how the word continues. Counterintuitive. Okay, so that's about Epstein. It's more complicated than people try to claim. There are interests there clashing with each other, and you shouldn't be either. It's not either Trump is keeping the truth and the truth is Epstein was a nothing, or Trump is part of a child molesting. There is something several options in the middle. So that's about that. And now we come to the second part of the show. So if you don't like porn, as if discussing Epstein isn't porn, because all of the child molesting part. You're more than welcome to not watch the next 15 minutes or so. So this week, I was previewed to the following statement. Let's put it on the screen, and I'll read it. itch.io is an indie game website in which every game developer, usually like high school and college students who are learning how to develop games and are still not professionals, they're just playing around and testing their own abilities. They can publish games and have the public download, try, rate them, give them advice. They can collaborate to make games together without having a company that does it. It's a pretty nice service. I enjoy it a lot. I play some like retro style casual games, like all those little brain puzzles that are like, and some remakes of old games like Dangerous Dave. I tried, I think, 3 different remakes on itch and like 5 Mario remakes, including one in 3D with it's if you like games, go and you are not on itch.io, go there. It's very fun. It's endless hours of discovering new games. So this week they put the next statement out. We have de-indexed all adults not safe for work content from our browse and search pages. We understand this action is sudden and disruptive, and we are truly sorry for the frustration and confusion caused by this change. Recently, we came under scrutiny for our payment processor regarding the nature of some content hosted on itch.io. Due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April, the organization Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch. Steam is the biggest online game store in the world. It's operated by Valve, who make the Steam Deck, which is the most popular non-Nintendo, the most popular PC gaming handheld. Let's say that. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty niche definition, but that's what it is. And so the biggest large name game store in the world and the largest indie game store in the world. That collective had a campaign against both of them, directing concerns to our payment processor about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. Our ability to process payments is critical for every creator on our platform. To ensure that we can continue to operate and provide a marketplace for all developers, we must prioritize our relationship with our payment partners and take immediate steps toward towards compliance. This is a time critical moment for HIO. Sorry. The situation developed rapidly, and we had to act urgently to protect the platform's core payment infrastructure. Unfortunately, this meant it was not realistic to provide creators with advance notice before making this change. We know this is not ideal, and we apologize for the abruptness of this change. We are currently conducting a comprehensive audit of content to ensure we can meet the requirements of our payment processor. Pages will remain de-indexed as we complete our review. Once this review is complete, we will introduce new compliance measures. For not safe for work pages, this will include a new step where creators must confirm that their content is allowable under the policies of the respective payment processors linked to their accounts. Okay, I think that's enough for that message. This message got me very angry as an internet user. And the reason for that is, let's put my notes on. The reason is, let's put it out there, we all agree porn is not the best thing in the world, okay? It's morally wrong. If kids find it, it's horrible. But even for adults, it's a waste of time. It rots your brain, so forth. But it's legal, most of it. And the fact that, as they insinuate here, payment processors are pressuring companies to delete it is just not something that should be happening. And this is not the first time. I used AI to search for a few previous examples, including ones that I remembered and had to find the references. In December 2020, Pornhub, which is the second or third largest porn website in the world, but belongs to the biggest porn site operator in the world, they had to remove 80% of the content on the site because of Visa and Mastercard blocking. They didn't threaten, they already blocked payments to Pornhub. Pornhub removed 80% of the content. And then it happened again in 2022. And I think now Pornhub is has 5% of the content it used to have or something. I read some number somewhere, but I didn't go and find it for this specific story. And then in August 2021, OnlyFans, which is a website where people can upload content and charge a monthly fee to from people to watch it, or one-time fees for action. So many people on the platform, and it's the main use of the platform, I believe. I'm not a member there, but I've read, as in my day job as a tech reporter, I read a lot about that platform. And OnlyFans is mainly young, beautiful people who sell their bodies online, which is not the best moral thing, but better than actually selling your body physically, I guess. But anyway, in 2021, they announced they were going to block porn from the platform, which I saw a website that said it was like Messi would ban his left foot, or for the Americans who don't watch soccer, it's like I don't have a different analogy that is as good as Messi banning his left foot. I mean, it's your raison d'être. It's the reason of being, the reason you exist. So banning porn for OnlyFans would mean nobody would be left there. Almost nobody, like maybe 10 people out of the millions who use it. And within a week, they reversed that and announced they they switched banks or something, and the new bank promised them as long as they are not charged with propagating illegal porn, they're fine with accepting payments. During the year 2024, last year, many Japanese porn-centered platforms started censoring content due to pressure from payment providers too. Some of them tried to bypass blocks by diverting users to other payment options like crypto. But unfortunately, Japanese people didn't like the alternatives, and they just stopped paying, and they just didn't move their payments from the main platforms, Visa and Mastercard, to smaller platforms, and the sites had to start censoring themselves. Last week, Steam, which I mentioned earlier, also started removing porn games, and that was so. We did see a similar phrasing in itch.io's message, but they were saying they were removing games that violate the rules and standards set forth by payment processors and card networks. First of all, give us the list of those you use so we can check their rules and standards. And B, there is no payment provider that has clear rules on the website what you can pay for. It's not something that exists. I mean, anything that is legal should be allowable on these platforms, but none of them have it, which makes this very hard. So I used AI to help me build the points here, the bottom line, which is very important. Payment providers are private companies. They can do whatever they like. But turning them into censors of the internet is a very bad idea. It turns private companies into the keepers of moral, which should not be happening. There is free choice, and you shouldn't be limited by a private company to what you can or cannot have, as long as it's legal. If there's something so bad that no one should have it, that's what the legal system is for. That's not for private companies to decide. And if you let banks and credit card companies decide those things, you get into a very dangerous zone where they can ban political speech. And they make all those decisions arbitrarily. It's not democratic because it's a few managers in an office and they don't consult the public. They are not. No one elected them to do that, and they don't have a transparent decision process. So they just make a decision, and unlike laws that have usually when a new law passes, you have a cutoff date. Like from this date on, we will start doing that. Here, from the emergence from the swiftness of the moves, you see the payment providers didn't give Steam and each cutoff dates. They just stopped delivering payments and made them do something immediately, which is very, very dangerous. And you can't appeal because there's no court. It's just an executive decision, and that's it. So it's prone to abuse, and like I mentioned, it gives private companies, an immense power. So during the Obama years, and in some form even in the Trump years, many private companies in the US and the UK, and especially today under Starmer's government, started censoring the right wing, as we all know. I mean, I'm on Rumble because right-wing content was under so much scrutiny. Oops, I passed the 30-minute mark. I'll try to finish in two minutes. That people had to found a new website. I mean, Rumble existed before, but it wasn't what it is today. It wasn't the right-wing YouTube. It was just like where you uploaded mainly. I think it was originally like leaked like CCTV footage of things, mainly people getting beaten, traffic accidents, death, violent things that weren't allowed on YouTube got uploaded to Rumble. And now it's political things that are not very mainstream on YouTube. They get uploaded to Rumble. So we wouldn't need Rumble if private companies didn't start censoring things without absolutely having to by law. Because if YouTube was compulsed by law to censor what it censored, Rumble would be under the same law, because Rumble is also an American company, even though it was founded in Canada. By the way, Canada is less democratic than the US today, but leave that aside. They can censor all sorts of things, anything the government asks or doesn't ask, things that aren't considered mainstream. So if you're one of those who believe the Trump administration is somehow hostile to LGBT, say goodbye to LGBT content now. I mean, that's the next thing they will censor, right? It makes sense. And or worse, they can censor people who challenge the political elite, which you in the US may not think possible, but it happened in the UK just a couple of years ago with Nigel Farage. He was debanked. I will call it debanked. His bank accounts were closed by the bank, who said, you're too dangerous to do business with because the government scrutinizes us for the fact you have an account with us. When the bank didn't endorse Farage by giving him an account, he paid taxes, questionably, but he wasn't a suspect of large tax evasion. He was a suspect of having non-mainstream opinions that he was campaigning for, and he had to move to the US for a bit. I think, I don't know where he lives today because I don't follow him that closely, but it happened in a so-called democratic country. I mean, the UK is still a monarchy, but they consider themselves democratic. And still, this thing happened under a right-wing government, that a right-wing politician was debanked and robbed of his own ability to do business by a private company. Because of public opinion and moral standards that were completely arbitrary, opaque, non-transparent. This is a very, very dangerous slope. So as bad as porn is, we have to stop letting private companies enforce moral standards on private people. That and other private companies, because we have a law, we have morals. Anyone who has morals shouldn't be watching porn. Anyone who doesn't have morals should be allowed to make their own choice in buying whatever is legal in their country. And most porn, as I understand, on each is legal. So where's the problem there? Oh, I think that's those are my main points. That's part of my very big series coming on how the web is getting worse and worse and more closed off. And it used to be this open thing that anyone can do anything on, and now it's like reshaping itself, smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The web universe is shrinking, and if we don't do anything about it, we won't have a web in 5 years. It will just be some mainstream websites, and everything else will be banned. So please do not adhere with such rules. Do everything you can to fight. If you have any power, if you work in a company that can do something about those things, do it. It may not be moral, but it is legal. And that's what matters. You'll see me in the next one, next week.